This has been my life over the past 3 years, and this is going to be the rest of my life. Wait, sorry. I will still be doing this, but something will permanently change. I won't have a boss going forward. I've broken free from the corporate cage. Hi, I'm Prudence Zhu, CPA and fee-only financial planner. And now I'm officially a full-time entrepreneur. Over the past 20 months, I've been transitioning out of my 9-to-5 job. In this video, I'm going to share with you how I quit my corporate job, the underlying financial foundation, and how you could do the same. The story goes back 2 years, when I was on my second maternity leave. Unlike the first time, I recovered nicely thanks to the help from a professional postpartum caregiver. It was totally worth it, by the way. And when the baby's asleep, I had time to really think about what I wanted to do when I returned to the workforce. I've always wanted to build my own business, and I had failed twice at that point. So I was thinking to myself, why don't I follow an examined path this time, build a useful network, and give it one last try? Then I started researching programs I could attend and found exactly what I was looking for. Since this is not a sponsored video, I'll skip the name of the program here. It's a one-year master's program that combines the resources of 3 schools: engineering, business, and design. It puts aspiring founders through 5 different phases of starting a brand new business and provides them with guidance and resources to launch a scalable business. And I got accepted right away. 4 months later, with the support from my boss and HR, I enrolled in the program and started going back to campus as a student while working a full-time job. I had to schedule meetings around my classes and work some late nights and weekends, but overall it was manageable. Between August and November, similar to the other 23 founders in my cohort, I went through the insight and problem reframing phase. I did 52 one-on-one interviews around the issues working parents were facing, since that was what I was interested in. Meanwhile, we had some opportunities to practice pitching, and I got a $5,000 grant as an early validation. By December, however, I realized that my initial business idea, which was to provide subsidized loan to working parents so that they could stay in the workforce, wasn't getting any traction from the employers. However, through research and another 14 interviews with professionals working in personal finance, I discovered a new opportunity that I didn't know about before: financial coaching and financial planning, specifically fee-only financial planning. So that Christmas, I pivoted my business idea to financial planning. Then came 2022. Determined to work in financial advisory, I first passed a Series 65 in February, which allowed me to provide investment advice. I then finished the Certified Financial Planner Capstone course in March, which would allow me to sit for the CFP exam and eventually get the certificate. Meanwhile, I got more interviews with the financial coaches and CFPs in the industry and continued to work with my business advisors and mentors. Also through networking, I landed a part-time job doing tax and wealth strategy consultation for a popular CPA platform, and it gave me the confidence to finally pull the trigger. So in May of 2022, when I was on a business trip back to our office in Chicago, I took my boss aside and communicated my final day at the company would be the end of March 2023. Surprisingly, he told me that he saw it coming, but didn't realize that it would be so soon. By then, the program took the founders through prototyping and the business model phase. Coming out of it, I built my website and set my initial pricing model. Out of passion and wish to gain experience, I hosted 4 personal finance workshops for my classmates, and it led to a part-time teaching job at Arizona State University on personal insurance planning. It was unexpected, but further convinced me of my value. The last phase of the program was in the summer, focusing on scale. One of my mentors enlightened me that I should start my YouTube channel to reach a wider audience, and that was the beginning of Invest with Prudence. It was a big challenge since I knew nothing about editing or video production, but I found solutions and kept going. Second half of 2022 till most recently was extremely difficult though, as I was juggling a full-time job, teaching, part-time advisory, YouTube, being a mom, a wife, and a daughter. And on top of all that, I was preparing for my Certified Financial Planning exam and I passed in March. Very often, I felt like I was living day to day, just getting by. I had way too many conflicting priorities and was expanding my comfort zone like never before. In hindsight, I could have taken it slower and made it easier for myself. But I'm also glad that I was able to pull it off, and it seems everything is ready for me to start a new journey called entrepreneurship. All my life, I've been taught to be a good student, a good employee, a good mom, and all of those seemed so natural but felt incomplete. Is there no other way of living a fulfilling life? What about my dreams, values, and passion? The older I got, the more reluctant I was to admit that my life was going to be predictable or no different than anyone else. And now I finally have the financial resources, skill set, and most importantly, confidence to face whatever there is to come. I can't wait to find out what lies ahead. And that's my transition story. Now I'm going to show you the financial backbone of the plan using numbers and a financial model. In a recent survey on YouTube, thousands of people were asked what they wanted to do when financially free. 60% said they'd switch to a career that they are passionate about. 10% said they'd start a new business. Another 10% said they loved their jobs and wouldn't change a thing. Lucky them. And the rest said that they had enough and would retire early. So I'll first address the 60% who want to start working for passion, not just a paycheck. Meet Miss Passion. She works in marketing and makes $100,000 a year. But her passion is taking care of wild animals, which doesn't pay well, roughly like $40,000 a year. For simplicity, let's assume her total tax liability, including payroll and income tax, is 20% each year. Having the end goal of switching careers in mind, Miss Passion lives way below her means, saving and investing 50% of her after-tax income. Her investment tools are tax-deferred 401k and real estate. Assuming a real after-tax return of 6% a year, which means it's net of inflation and capital gains tax. This is a very conservative number considering potential leverage she could take advantage of in real estate using mortgage and potentially more aggressive asset allocation strategies she could use, especially in the early years when her time horizon is long. In year 9, she should be able to take a pay cut and switch to a career that she's passionate about, even though that means she would have to draw $4,000 a year from her assets to sustain the same lifestyle. But since she's got a sizable nest egg, the growth from her retirement assets would more than cover the gap, and her asset would keep growing. By using the 4% rule, she'd need exactly $900,000 to support $36,000 of spending a year in retirement. And in year 20, she'd have exactly $900,000, and she could retire early if she wants to. So now you see the keys to having enough money to make the switch to a less well-paid but more fulfilling career is to live below your means, invest constantly, and have a long-term plan. If you could take advantage of the tax-advantaged accounts that best suit your situation, you'd be able to accelerate the transition by a couple of years. My situation is a bit different. Again, the numbers here are in terms of today's dollars, so it's net of the impact of inflation. And I extrapolated the data of our family by prorating based on income to filter out my individual contribution. My total income averaged $135,000 a year over the past 9 years. As a result, my tax liability was slightly higher than Miss Passion at 25%. Since I'm not particularly frugal and love to travel, I also spend more, roughly 60% of my after-tax income. And my investment returns have been a lot higher, averaging 14% annually. But I will assume 6% going forward to reduce investment risks and to be conservative. If my lifestyle stays the same, I'd need 25 times my spending or $1.5 million to achieve financial independence and retire completely. That means if I stayed in the corporate world and did the same job for another 7 years, I would be able to retire. And if I choose to work until year 20 into my financial independence journey, I'd have close to $2 million. Since I only started my financial independence journey at the age of 30, I'd be able to retire when I'd be 50, which coincides my first kid going to university. Perfect, right? However, since a corporate job is no longer challenging or rewarding enough for me, I've decided to start my own business. I know that a new business typically takes 3 years to stabilize, and it's no different in financial planning. I expect my income to drop significantly in the first 2 years as I invest into the business and try to make it grow. As a natural result of less income, I'd have to stop contributing to my retirement savings. Instead, I'll have to draw from my assets in order to sustain my lifestyle. Good thing is, if nothing goes horribly wrong, I should be able to recover my income 3 years into the new business. At that point, applying a typical valuation multiple in the financial planning world of 4, the business would be worth $500,000. So even though my retirement asset would be lower than the corporate scenario, I'd have business equity as part of my total asset, and it would be higher than the corporate scenario starting in year 12, just 3 years into the business. In addition, it gets even better in the following 2 years as the business continues to grow and pushes the business value even higher. And since I don't want to work more or manage a team, the business revenue would plateau and the business itself will stay what we call in the startup world a lifestyle business. I would keep serving a niche market at a small scale till I retire at age 50. I'd have 3.6 million instead of 2 million if I worked a corporate career. In addition to the financial gain, I'd also have much more flexibility, control over who I work with and how I work with, and thus higher job satisfaction. However, my plan for the next decade is not so simple, because at the end of the day, I still want to have a greater impact. So I plan to exit the lifestyle business in year 14 and build a scalable business after that. That means with the experience and insights I gained in the first 5 years, I'd start over and create another business that could be easily replicated and grow. Asset-wise, I'd exit the lifestyle business in year 14, get $1 million for it, let the money grow at 6% annually, and start a second business in year 15. So again, I'd have a minimal income for 2 years, stabilize the business in the first 3 years, and from there double the revenue every year for 3 years. And the second business using the same 4 times revenue valuation model would be worth $4.3 million in year 6. If I retire then, I should have 8.5 million total asset to enjoy life or put into charity and create the change I want to see in the world. And that's my grand plan for the next decade. But a famous saying goes, everyone has a plan until they get punched in the face. So going forward, I will reflect on my progress regularly and make necessary changes in my strategy. Please stay tuned for my updates. I promise it won't be boring. So if you're feeling stuck in your corporate job and dreaming of a different life, remember that it's never too late to make a change. Identify what you want, plan carefully, and believe in yourself. I hope my story and plan inspired you to build a path to your ideal career. If you liked it, please give it a thumbs up and share it with others. Please subscribe to my channel for more content on tax and wealth entrepreneurship and living a happy life. Until next time, take care, and please keep in mind you have the power to create the life you want.